How are you doing? Are you holding up okay? Or are you struggling? Are you worried? Has anxiety about this time that we're living in messed with you? One thing is for sure. Each of us is dealing with this crazy time that we are living in differently. I have talked to people who aren't sleeping. I've talked to others who are worried sick about the future. Some folks are touch and go hour by hour. Others are saying not much has changed for me. And others are not liking the changes but are holding on as best they can. Who would have thought that we would be on the verge of week 7 of stay-at-home orders? Week 7 of social distancing, food shortages, closures, limits on purchases, and limits on how many can enter a store at one time. It is indeed a crazy time. My experience and yours, they're different. How I'm doing and how you're doing, they're different. The introverts among us are probably doing better than the extroverts. I hear people worrying about lots of things. Some are worrying about how they will get a haircut or manage unruly hair, or worried about their real hair color showing through. Others are worried about finding toilet paper or eggs or Clorox wipes or N95 masks. Some folks are worrying about how long things are closed, and others are pushing to get things opened soon because they're worried about the economic ramifications of this COVID-19. Other folks are worrying about their stimulus checks. When will they come? I need it now. Some are worried about their job, what it will look like when they go back. And others are worrying about even if they will have a job. Some are worried about missing out on the life events that should have happened. Others are worrying about upcoming family vacations. Or will we be able to spend time together with our families and loved ones at all? Or anytime soon? Opportunities to worry abound. And it is understandable that you might be worried about some things right now. However, don't get caught up in the worry cyclone very long. Because as William Ing says, worry is interest paid on trouble before it falls due. I say worry produces anxiety, and anxiety produces depression. Worry robs us of meaningful life. Worry can't change a thing and doesn't produce any good. It can be detrimental to your health. Now, I'm not busting on you if you're caught in a worry cyclone these days. I'm simply wanting to encourage you to move beyond worry. Because worry is misplaced worship. Now let that sink in a bit. Worry is misplaced worship. In the passage of scripture that we're looking at today, which is Matthew 6, verses 19 to 34, Jesus addresses worry in helpful ways. Now you may have heard this passage used before to talk about giving and money. And while it does, it also talks about worry and what worry does in our lives if we let it get a foothold. As I was praying about what to talk about this week, a couple of verses in this teaching stuck out to me. And they particularly struck me when I read them in the Message translation of this passage. Matthew 6, verses 19 to 34. The verses that struck me are verses 32 to 34. Here's how Eugene Peterson renders them in the Message translation. What I am trying to do here is to get you to relax, not to be so preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way He works fuss over these things, but you know God and how He works. Steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions, and don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday concerns will be met. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. For God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. I just love those couple of verses. In essence, Jesus is saying, relax. Don't be preoccupied with getting so that you can respond to God's giving. In other words, don't miss out on what God has provided and is providing because you're so worried about getting from God. The story goes that Susie wanted a very special birthday gift, and she had told everyone exactly what she wanted. So when her birthday party came and it was time to open her gifts, she excitedly opened each and every gift. And when she opened one and she saw that it wasn't what she wanted so badly, she quickly tossed it aside and opened the next gift, only to find the same reality was true. It wasn't what she wanted. By the end of her gift opening, she had not received what she really wanted, and though many of the gifts were things that she would enjoy and were nicer gifts than what she wanted, she hadn't gotten what she wanted, and she was hugely disappointed. Sometimes we can be like that with God, asking for this and that, and we are so disappointed then when we don't get what we asked for that we miss out on what God has given us. So brothers and sisters, don't be so preoccupied with getting that you can't respond to God's giving. Relax. Focus on what you have, not on what you're missing. Now that's some good advice for us in the midst of these days. And it will help us with not worrying so much. It will decrease our anxiety too. Count your blessings. Literally. Make a list. Start with the moment you open your eyes and take a breath. Both of those are gifts from God that we often take for granted. You may need to do this daily. Keep a running list. Refer to the list often and give thanks to God for all that you have. It's real easy to get focused on what we want or what we don't have and miss out on what God has already. What do you see? You probably noticed the dot on the paper. It caught your attention, didn't it? But why didn't you notice the vast amount of white space around the dot? That's how it is with us and our ability to focus on what we think we are missing out on and not see what God has already provided for us. That's why it is always helpful when you are worrying about something to take time to write down your blessings, to see what God has already done. Jesus says, steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Sometimes when worry seeks to settle in, it is best to shift your attention. And that is what counting your blessings does for you. If you focus too long on what it is that is worrying you, you will find that you just spiral down and down and down. Rather than do that, look up. Shift your focus. Sure, the dot is on the paper, but look at all the white spot, the white space around the dot. Sure, you haven't been given the gift you want, but look at all the other presents you have. I love that image of steep. When you make tea, you let the tea bag steep in the hot water, and it brings out the flavor of the water in the tea. Steep your life in God. Soak in God. Bask in God. Count your blessings. Shift your focus. It will make a difference in your perspective and will push worry away, at least for a bit. And whenever you feel the worry is starting to creep back in, shift your focus again. Get the list out and read down the list. Verse 34 is probably my favorite verse of this passage, and I especially like the way the Message translation renders it. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Shifting focus is a helpful thing when we are feeling anxious or worried. You and I can't give our entire attention to what God is doing right now if we are worrying about something. And sometimes shifting our attention is about more than making a list of our blessings. Sometimes we have to physically shift our location if we can, like I did for this morning. I came outside. One of the things that is very helpful right now for me, and I think probably for you, is to get outside on nice days, to go for a walk. The flowers are beautiful. The sun and the vitamin D are helpful. Soak it in. Sometimes that is what it takes to get ourselves out of the worry cyclone. A shift in place. Now, I'm not an overly anxious person, and I'm not overly anxious about what we are experiencing right now, but I am struggling with not being able to be with you and with my other friends. I'm missing that real personal connection. And if I focus on what I'm missing, it's real easy for me to slip into a downward spiral where I just keep going down farther and farther and farther. So for me, going outside, working in the garden, going to the woods, going for a walk, or going turkey hunting, because right now it's turkey season, those are all things that I can do to shift my focus, to decompress and be able to spend uninterrupted time with God and to focus on what God is doing right now. I get that you might have other places that are more stimulating and satisfying for you, other places that help you shift your focus. Whatever they are and wherever they are, that is where you should be. It's where you should go when you find worry weighing heavy on you. I'm hearing from some of you that Zooming in with us on our weekly Zoom times is a life changer for you right now. So set an alarm. Put it in your calendar. Don't miss those Zoom times. There is something very helpful in seeing each other and interacting with each other. In this time of isolation, take some initiative. Don't sit back and wait for people to reach out to you. They may be struggling in the very same way you are. I mean, we're all struggling. I was talking to someone the other day who was starting to spiral downward. And when I said, I understand that feeling, it was like a switch came on. And they responded to me, well, I'm just going to reach out to the very people that I want to be reaching out to me. And I thought, and I said, what a great idea. That is the very way we need to be shifting our focus so that we don't miss out on what God is doing right now. And one of the things that God is doing right now is He's reorienting our society. He's helping us to reprioritize what is important and to let go of the things that are meaningless. And deeper connections with one another is one of the byproducts of this time that we're in. I see it with those of us who are Zooming each week. I see it with those of us who are serving meals to children. I see it in lots of ways in our culture. We're starting to care more about each other than about ourselves. So instead of worrying, give your full attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. I want to end with some lyrics to a song that I find helpful. It's a song by Lauren Daigle. It's called Trust in You. She writes and sings, letting go of every single dream. I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I try to win this war. I confess my hands are weary. I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're right by my side. When you don't move the mountains I'm needing you to move, when you don't part the waters I wish I could walk through, when you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So let all things be my life and breath. I want you, Lord, and nothing less. You see, giving our entire attention to what God is doing right now and not getting worked up about tomorrow allows us to deepen our trust in God. He knows what tomorrow brings, and God will meet us in our struggles too. Don't worry. Shift your focus. Count your blessings. Trust God.
Hi guys, this is Carley singing Look Up Child by Lauren Daigle. Where are you now when darkness seems to